Now, you used the word smart cheater when you were referring to Memo Heredia in that tweet. You said that smart cheaters know how to circumvent the test.
Memo said this himself. I don't know if you saw
Right.
the
No,
documentary.
no.
He went to Mexico and injected on camera.
Yeah, I saw that. But I'm just saying, you used the term smart cheater. We saw the documentary, and there's people right now, and I would have to agree with them, and I'm sure you do as well, that would say, Victor Conti, you are a smart cheater. How do we know you're not one of those smart cheaters that's not circumventing the test? What do you say to that?
Well, okay. So the only two boxers associated with Snack that have tested positive are Willie Monroe. Now, Willie Monroe came. Vanez Martirosyan hired him when he was fighting Laura as a sparring partner because he had that same kind of Cuban style and he was a southpaw. So he came in probably, definitely more than a year after he was there for a couple of weeks as a sparring partner. And I talked to him about this later. He goes into some 7-Eleven type place and he buys this Extends, to enhance your libido. I guess he wanted to enhance his libido for some reason. And it had DHT in it, dihydrotestosterone. I don't think he ever got banned, but they postponed the fight. But it certainly had nothing to do with me. Secondly was Andre Berto. Now, Berto did come under Virgil Hunter, and he was at Snack, and he did a training camp. Then he left, and he went to Los Angeles to the Ten Goose Gym, and he was training there. And I had not seen him for more than a year. He tore his bicep. He had to get surgery on it. He had to do 6 months worth of rehab. Then he goes to his home, which is in Winter Park, Florida, and he pops positive. It had nothing to do with me. I am the one that hooked him up with the lawyer that represented him that told him, don't talk to anybody or say anything. So he had agreed to come out and make a statement and clear my name. But I said, hey, I'm a big boy. I'll make my own statement. Basically, what I said is sometimes your kids listen to you and sometimes they don't. I can't follow them around 24 hours a day. So we're talking about somebody who was there for a single camp with Snack. He brought his brother Cleveland and trained. He's a great athlete as well. More than a year later, he's 3,000 miles away and he pops positive, and people want to point the finger at me.
Ladies and gentlemen, members of the jury, members of the Roll the Tape film crew, Victor Conti is correct. He's accurate. He is right when he said, which y'all just heard him say, people keep pointing the fingers at him. Yeah, that's true. Let me give proper context to this so that no one will be lost in translation. And no one will hopefully misinterpret what I'm going to say in this video. Because apparently every time I put out a clip of the excerpt of the interviews that I've conducted with Victor Conti, for some odd reason, instead of people listening to the questions that I've asked and the answers that Victor Conti provided, somehow, some way, people talk about other things in the comments section, etc. So let's clarify everything right now. Now, y'all just heard it. I asked Victor Conti a very important but basic question. He tweeted that smart cheaters know how to circumvent the test. He was referring to Memo Heredia. So I basically asked him about giving the boxing community assurances. How do we know that you, even though you're referring to another known former cheater or current cheater, we don't know, but you were referring to Memo Heredia being a smart cheater and circumventing the testing. Okay, so how do the boxing community, how do boxing fans know that you're not one of the smart cheaters that you are referring to about Memo Heredia? How do we know that you're not a smart cheater circumventing the test? Because you and Memo Heredia have a very shady past. This is public record. We all know this. Well, I mean, time is still ticking. And we're still waiting for Victor Conte to answer that question. Well, he didn't answer the question. Y'all just heard him, right? He didn't answer that question. But he did provide us with 2 fighters that were associated with him who tested positive for banned substances. And I just want to give clarity on this. I said this in a live video recently, but I think it went over some people's head. I actually pointed this out before. So now I'm going to point it out again. There should be fingers pointed at Victor Conte because he still have a cloud of suspicion, big one too, a huge cloud of suspicion following around him because he's actively involved in the sport of boxing. Now, there's nothing anyone can do about that. However, though, we still have to look at the words that Victor Conte says. The words that he said when he referred to Andre Berto. I have to agree with myself, which I agree with myself in the previous video, and I have to agree with myself again now. And that is that it's not true. Victor Conte said that Andre Berto was over 3,000 miles away from him and he wasn't even a part of the snack program for an entire year. Not only that, Victor Conte stated that he set Andre Berto up with a lawyer. He also stated that he told the media that just as children do with their parents, they don't listen to every instruction that their parents give them sometimes. That was a reference that he gave. Well, I have some issues with some of those statements that Victor Conte made. And so should you. Instead of pointing the finger at me, I'm not the topic of this discussion when we talk about anti-doping. I'm not the topic of the discussion when we talk about doping. But seems to me, people always want to use the tactic of reverse psychology. And I will not allow you to do so. My job is to redirect the audience to the topic at hand. So let's deal with what's real. Now, let's be clear on something. Let's start with the statement that Victor Conte said he made. Now, he may have made that statement to the media as far as, just as parents have children that don't listen to their instructions and then they go off and do their own thing and then they end up in trouble. That's the reference that he made, right? But I haven't seen anything publicly where he stated that. Now, he probably did, but I didn't see any evidence of that. However, we do have evidence of a statement that he did say publicly, and here it is on your screen right now. This is what ESPN have stated through the article that I believe Dan Raphael, who was the journalist on this topic in 2012. This is what Victor Conte said according to the quote that Dan Raphael referenced. He stated the supplements that he provided. Well, if he wasn't in the snack program at the time for over a year, then why would you have to provide him with any supplements? Provided is past tense. That means that you actually provided these supplements to Andre Berto. In fact, it's stated in this article that he was a part of the camp. Victor Conte was a part of Andre Berto's camp leading up to the rematch with Victor Ortiz. That's what the article stated. I haven't seen anything in the media or in the court of law where Victor Conte basically made a reference to ESPN's Dan Raphael of poor journalism and defamation of character and misquoting him. I haven't seen any evidence of that. Have you? So we have to just go by what we know as of now because we have no evidence that Victor Conte refuted the words that you just saw on your screen. I also wanted to point out this. Victor Conte stated that he's the one who hooked his words, not mine, he hooked Andre Berto up with an attorney. As you can see on your screen, the attorney who was representing Andre Berto, well, he's an anti-doping defense attorney, Howard Jacobs. In fact, he's the one that also represented Tim Montgomery. Y'all remember that? Yeah, he's the one that represented Tim Montgomery when he made statements against Victor Conte, because Victor Conte at that time during the Baco scandal pointed out Tim Montgomery's issues with doping. And of course, he was the one that was a part of that scandal. So Howard Jacobs, the attorney for Tim Montgomery, threw some shots at Victor Conte. Well, Victor Conte claimed that he hooked Berto up with an attorney. It just so happened that that same attorney was Howard Jacobs. I thought that was interesting. And one more thing, and I promise I'll let you all go. Victor Conte did not tell us what Andre Berto tested positive for. But I will, and I've already done so in a previous video. So I want to do it again for some of you who missed it. Andre Berto tested positive for nandrolone. So when Victor Conte says fingers are pointed at him, here's one of the main reasons why fingers are still pointed at him when it comes down to Andre Berto testing positive for a banned substance. Is because the same banned substance, nandrolone, coincidentally, was the banned substance that Barry Bonds also tested positive for nearly 11 years before Andre Berto tested positive for it. And we know that Victor Conte is the one who basically was testing Barry Bonds' urine in his blood, because Barry Bonds was a part of Baco. That's not a coincidence. I'm just saying. So this is the reason why, mainly, fingers are still pointed at him. I mean, what a coincidence. Barry Bonds tested positive for nandrolone when Victor Conte used those private testing labs to test his urine and blood during the Baco days in 2001. What is my reference? Netflix documentary. Yeah, the Netflix documentary, Untold Hall of Shame. That's where that evidence just came from. Barry Bonds testing positive. That's not an opinion, that's a fact. Right? And then 11 years later, 2012, while Andre Berto was in the SNAC program, he tested positive. They both, Barry Bonds and Andre Berto, were both associated with Victor Conte at the time that they both tested positive for the same banned substance of nandrolone. We need answers. You know what? I'm doing way too much talking. Don't take my word for it. Roll the tape.